Welcome to Life Fit and Love. Today we're diving into a critical topic that could impact your kidney health. The top 7 foods that can be harmful to your kidneys. These are everyday choices that might be putting your body at risk without you even knowing it. But don't worry, we're here to help you make smarter decisions and protect those vital organs. Stay tuned because this episode could be a game changer for your health.
Hey everyone, ready to dive deep. Today, it's all about those hardworking kidneys we've got.
Those amazing filters, right?
Exactly. The source we're looking at today, it compares each kidney to having like a million tiny little filters. A million.
That's a lot of filtering going on.
It really is. That's 2 million in total, just working away in there, keeping your blood squeaky clean. We're talking 50 gallons of blood every single day.
Wow.
50.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And honestly, people underestimate kidneys. They do so much more than just, make pee.
Right. It's not just about going to the bathroom.
Not at all. We're talking fluid balance, electrolytes.
Yeah.
They even play a role in activating vitamin D.
Which most people think of as coming from the sun, right?
Right. Sunlight's key, but the kidneys are in on that action too. It's fascinating.
Fascinating is right. But today, we're focusing on how to protect those amazing organs because you, our listeners, sent in some great stuff on foods that might be harming them.
And we're going to break it down. Don't worry, no jargon, just clear info so you can make the best choices for your health.
Exactly. So to kick things off, we've got a food I'm guessing most of us have indulged in at some point. Instant noodles.
Oh, yeah, classic.
Now, it's not just the sodium we got to watch out for, though that's a whole other deep dive. This source is pointing to a preservative, TBHQ, as a potential concern. So, expert speaker, what's the deal with TBHQ? Why is it in so much stuff?
Okay, so TBHQ, it stands for tertiary butyl hydroquinone. Big word, but basically,
G. Right.
yeah, not so much. Anyway, it's a powerful antioxidant, which sounds good, right?
Antioxidants, those are the good guys, yeah.
They are. And in this case, it's preventing fats and oils in food from going rancid, makes stuff last longer. That's why it's in so many things, instant noodles, crackers, frozen foods. I think I even saw it listed as an ingredient in a lipstick once.
Wow, so it's keeping our food A&D or makeup fresh?
You got it. But, and there's always a but, there are studies linking high consumption of TBHQ over a long period to some potential kidney issues.
Oh, okay, so maybe not so good for those little filters after all.
Think of it this way. Your kidneys are constantly working, right? Filtering your blood.
Yeah.
So they're dealing with this, let's call it foreign substance all the time. It's like extra stress on the system. There have even been some studies connecting high intake to certain kidney cancers, but we'll be honest, way more research is needed on that front.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. So what can we do? I mean, this stuff is everywhere. Should we all become like expert label readers?
Honestly, being mindful of what you eat is always a good thing. But for me, the big takeaway is just being aware of how much processed food we're all eating.
So it's about balance, as with so many things in life, right?
Exactly. It's your plate, your choices.
Love that. Okay, next on our list of potential kidney troublemakers is something that honestly surprised me a bit. Skittles.
Skittles.
Yeah.
Like the candy.
And really, any brightly colored food. Like, what's the issue with a little color in our lives, right?
Well, it's not so much about a little color, it's the type of color and how much of it we're getting. This source is flagging those artificial dyes used to make things so vibrant.
Like those crazy reds and yellows and blues. They make some foods look practically neon.
Exactly. And those colors come from complex chemical structures, stuff our bodies haven't quite figured out how to process. You eat a blueberry, you get natural pigments, those break down easy. These artificial dyes, not so much.
So what happens to them then?
Well, they circulate in your bloodstream until finally your kidneys are like, hold up, something's not right here, got to filter this out. Imagine those 2 million little filter workers in your kidneys suddenly on overtime because of some wacky-colored snack food.
Poor little guys.
Yeah, not ideal. And while more research is needed to definitively say artificial dyes equal bad kidneys, there are studies showing a link to things like inflammation and oxidative stress, which long-term, those can do a number on your kidneys.
So maybe opting for more naturally colored foods is a good rule of thumb then.
Definitely a step in the right direction. And luckily, there are more and more natural food coloring options becoming available every day.
That's good news. Okay, let's move on to another fan favorite, though maybe one we should be enjoying less of. Fast food fried chicken. Is it just the grease that's the problem?
Well, yeah, the grease isn't doing us any favors, but the real culprit here, according to our source, is something called glycation. It's a big concern with any fried foods, but especially those super crispy ones.
Glycation. Sounds intense.
It is, kind of. Basically, when proteins and sugars get together and get really hot, like in the deep fryer, a chemical reaction happens and boom, you get these harmful compounds called AGEs, advanced glycation end products.
AGEs, catchy. But seriously, what do they even do?
Imagine a bike chain, right? Left out in the rain, starts to rust. That rust makes the chain stiff, hard to move. That's kind of what AGEs do inside your body. They create these like cross-links between proteins, make them stiff, less able to do their job.
So, not great. But why are kidneys involved?
Well, your kidneys, those awesome filters, they have a hard time getting rid of AGEs, so
Yeah.
it builds up over time. And that buildup leads to inflammation, damage, not just in your kidneys, but all over.
Wow, so fried chicken is basically creating rust inside of me.
Oh,
That's an
yeah.
image. Maybe next time I'll bake or air fry it. Okay, speaking of things we should maybe avoid, next up, commercial bread. The kind that, like, never goes bad.
I know exactly what you mean. Those loaves that last for weeks. How do they do that?
Right. Feels a little unnatural. Well, the source credits this bread's long shelf life to an ingredient, potassium bromate.
Potassium bromate, huh? Tell me more.
That's what I'm here for. So, expert speaker, enlighten us. What is potassium bromate, and should we be worried about it?
Okay, so potassium bromate, it's a chemical additive. Bread makers use it because it helps improve the dough, makes it stronger, helps it rise better. That's how you get that soft, fluffy texture that everyone loves in bread. But, and it's a big but, there's concern that it might be carcinogenic.
Carcinogenic meaning.
Could potentially contribute to cancer. Now, the good news is you can easily find bread without it. Just look for labels that say bromate free, made without potassium bromate, that kind of thing.
Okay, so it's avoidable. That's good to know.
Mm.
On to our next potential kidney stressor, and I think we all know this one isn't exactly health food.
The-
Soda.
Yeah, not exactly a secret, that one.
But it's not just the sugar we're worried about today, though. Again, that's another deep dive for another time. The source is calling out phosphoric acid as a potential issue.
Phosphoric acid, yeah, that's the one that gives soda that tang.
Right. And it sounds kind of scary, like something you'd find in a chemistry set. What's it doing to our kidneys?
Well, for one thing, it can mess with your kidney's ability to balance calcium levels. That can lead to calcium buildup in the kidneys, which over time increases the risk of kidney stones.
Ouch. No, thank you.
Yeah, kidney stones are no joke. And there's also been some research suggesting that a lot of phosphorus in your diet in general might lead to a decline in kidney function as you get older.
So between the phosphoric acid and the sugar, soda is like a double whammy for your kidneys.
Pretty much.
All right, I think I'm ready for something a little healthier. How about agave syrup? It's natural, marketed as a healthy alternative to sugar. Seems like a good option, right?
Agave, yeah, it's gotten really popular, especially for folks following a keto diet because it's lower on the glycemic index.
Right, and natural. But this source claims it's mostly fructose, even more so than high fructose corn syrup. And get this, apparently our body processes fructose in a similar way to, wait for it, alcohol.
It's true. Agave, even though it comes from a plant, it's way high in fructose. And fructose, unlike glucose, gets processed mainly by your liver.
Okay, so what's wrong with that? Doesn't the liver deal with sugar?
It does, but when you're constantly overloading it with fructose, it's like having one too many drinks, but all the time. This can lead to fat building up in the liver, which is a condition called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, NAFLD for short.
Non-alcoholic.
Right.
But we were talking about agave, not tequila. How does that even happen?
Because of the way fructose is metabolized. It's surprisingly similar to alcohol, at least as far as your liver is concerned. Over time, this leads to inflammation, damage, even scarring of the liver.
Whoa, that's serious. But how does this tie back to our kidneys?
Well, your liver and your kidneys, they're like the best of buds. They work together. So when your liver's struggling, it affects your kidneys too. Plus, this NAFLD, it's often linked with other health problems like obesity, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes. All those increase your risk of kidney disease too.
So it's like a chain reaction. One thing leads to another and bam, kidney problems.
It's all connected.
Okay, so agave, even though it sounds healthy, maybe not so much.
Like anything else, moderation is key. But hey, let's move on to our last item for today, and this one might surprise you. Breakfast cereal. Even some of the healthier sounding ones.
Breakfast cereal, I mean, it's the most important meal of the day, right? Or so they say.
You'd think we'd be safe with a bowl of cereal, right?
Right. But our source is calling out something called glyphosate as a potential concern. Now, I know glyphosate, isn't that a weed killer?
It is, yes. Glyphosate is the active ingredient in a very commonly used herbicide. Farmers use it on lots of crops, corn, soy, wheat.
And those are all ingredients in cereal, often. So wait, are we saying there's weed killer in our breakfast food?
Essentially, yes. The concern is that residues of glyphosate from when the crops were sprayed can end up in the final product, even after processing.
Okay, that doesn't sound great. But is it actually dangerous? I mean, how much are we even talking about here?
That's the million-dollar question, and honestly, there's no easy answer. The research is still ongoing, and it gets pretty complicated.
So what do we know so far about glyphosate and our kidneys specifically?
Well, some studies have shown a possible connection between exposure to glyphosate and kidney issues. But it's not as simple as saying glyphosate equals kidney problems. There are likely other factors at play, like your overall health, for one. If you already have some kidney issues, you might be more susceptible. Other environmental factors probably play a role, maybe even your genes. It's like anything else, the dose makes the poison, right? Our bodies are pretty amazing at processing and getting rid of small amounts of stuff that might be harmful. But when we're talking about long-term, low-level exposure, well, that's where more research is needed.
So what's the average person supposed to do? Like, how do I even know if something has glyphosate in it? It's not like it's a featured ingredient on the box of cereal, right?
You're right. It's not always obvious. One thing to keep an eye out for on those labels is the term bioengineered ingredients.
Bioengineered ingredients. What does that even mean?
Basically, it's another way of saying genetically modified, GMOs. And because a lot of GMO crops are designed to be resistant to herbicides like, you guessed it, glyphosate, farmers can use those herbicides on their fields, and the crops will be fine. So while it's not a guarantee, seeing bioengineered ingredients on a label could mean there's a chance glyphosate is present.
Okay, so another thing to look out for. But it sounds like with this glyphosate, there are still more questions than answers, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot we're still learning. It's a hot topic, lots of debate, and it can be hard to figure out what to believe sometimes. But I think that's what makes these deep dives so important. Asking questions, being curious, and then making the most informed decisions we can based on what we know right now.
You got it. Okay, so we've gone through our list here. Instant noodles, those brightly colored snacks, the fried chicken, commercial bread, soda, agave, and cereal. It's like a minefield out there. Should I just start eating, like, raw vegetables and drinking distilled water?
Listen, you know I love a good salad, but it doesn't have to be that extreme.
Okay, good. Because while I'm all for healthy choices, I do enjoy the occasional, not so healthy treat. But seriously, what's the takeaway here? Where do we even start with making healthier choices after learning all of this?
For me, it always comes back to awareness, just being mindful of what we're putting in our bodies. Read labels, do a little research, ask questions, and then it's about finding that balance that works for you. No one is perfect, and I'm not going to say you have to give up everything you enjoy. Life's too short for that. It's about those choices you're making consistently.
So, like, if I have instant ramen once in a while, my kidneys aren't going to stage a revolt.
Exactly. One cup of noodles isn't going to ruin your kidneys. It's those long-term habits that make the difference.
That's good to know,
Yeah.
because I do love my ramen. But you're right, balance is key. So, speaking of balance, what does a truly kidney-healthy diet look like?
Well, first and foremost, water.
Hydration, always important.
Seriously, it's crucial for kidney function, helps to flush out waste products, and keeps those little filters we talked about working smoothly.
So drink up, everyone. What else?
Focus on those whole, unprocessed foods as much as possible. Fruits, veggies, whole grains. Those are your kidney's best friends.
So more color from nature, less from artificial colors. Makes sense? Anything else we should be keeping in mind?
You know, we often forget this one, but managing stress is huge. And not just for mental health, but for our physical health, too. Stress puts a strain on your entire system, and yes, that includes your kidneys. So finding healthy ways to manage that stress, exercise, meditation, whatever works for you, it can make a world of difference.
Such good advice. And honestly, who couldn't use a little less stress in their life?
Exactly. Taking care of ourselves, it's all connected.
Well said. A big thank you to expert speaker for diving into this important topic with us. And to you, dear listener, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into kidney health.
And remember, we only talked about foods to avoid today. What about foods that can actually help your kidneys? Now that's a topic for another deep dive.
It's wild, isn't it, how one thing can affect another in our bodies. Like, I don't usually think, oh, this cereal might be bad for my kidneys.
Right. You think about your stomach, maybe.
Right.
But yeah, the body's got these amazing connections all working or not working together.
It's a good reminder to just take care of ourselves the best we can.
Absolutely. And the good news is, when you focus on the fundamentals like we talked about, hydration, good food choices, those things have this ripple effect. They benefit everything.
Totally. Okay, before we wrap up today, want to do a quick rundown of those potential kidney stressors we discussed, just as a little reminder for everyone.
Great idea.
All right, we started with instant noodles and that preservative, TBHQ.
Right, those super long shelf life culprits.
Then it was on to those brightly colored foods, the ones with the artificial dyes. Then, of course, everyone's favorite, fried chicken.
Oh, the glycation.
Can't forget the glycation. All right, what else? Commercial bread, that was a big one with the potassium bromate. And of course, soda. That phosphoric acid and all that sugar, not a good combo for your kidneys. Then we talked about agave and how surprisingly high in fructose it is. And finally, it was on to breakfast cereal and that whole glyphosate debate.
Phew. We covered a lot.
We did. But hey, knowledge is power, right? Now our listeners can make those informed choices.
Exactly. It's not about demonizing any of these foods entirely, but just being aware, especially when it comes to how much and how often you're eating them.
Exactly. Those 2 million little filters in each kidney are counting on us. So drink that water, load up on those fruits and veggies, choose whole grains.
And find ways to manage that stress.
So true. Well, another deep dive in the books. Expert speaker, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom.
Always a pleasure.
And to our amazing listeners, as always, thank you for joining us on this journey of curiosity and learning. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic. So until then, stay curious, stay healthy, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.